Okay, so thank you for coming, everybody. It's so nice to see like familiar faces, new faces, some names I've seen around the community have reached out. So thank you so much for coming. We put on this forum tonight, not knowing who would show up or if anyone would come, but we thought like, let's just see what tonight looks like. In true self-directed fashion, we took a chance and jumped in. Rania and I attended a similar forum, and we thought it was like a really awesome experience. So we brought it to the community meeting at Passages and asked if any learners would be interested in coming and sharing their story. And so tonight there's 3 brave volunteers who will be sharing their experience so far at Passages and in their life. I'm just going to take a minute and acknowledge how much confidence it takes to publicly put yourself out there and share your stories. So thank you to Nikki, Naomi, and Claire for being so willing tonight to do this. A little bit of housekeeping before we begin. It's a youth-centered evening, so we are highlighting youth voices. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat. If it's anything related to general topics at Passages, we can answer them as the night goes on just in the chat. But if you have questions specifically for the learners that will be speaking, we'll save those for the end, and then Rania will be asking them your questions. There might be some that we can combine together, put all together, and then be answered in one chunk. So that's how we'll be moderating the night. So if everyone can keep their mics off, just so background noises are reduced, that would be fantastic. So I guess before we begin, a little bit about who I am, and then I'll have Rania introduce herself as well. So my name is Christina House. My pronouns are she, her. And I am the founder and executive director of Passages Center. We opened in September 2020. I had the vision years ago that I wanted to create this space for people that needed an alternative way of learning. And after homeschooling and unschooling my own children for 11 years and volunteering in a democratic school, I knew the space I wanted, how I wanted it to run, and that I wanted basically to empower youth to take the reins, and I would support and guide them from below. And that's exactly what we're doing. We started with 1 learner in September 2020, and we've grown to 13, adding about 1 a month, which is, I think, pretty impressive considering we're in the middle of a pandemic. Thank you, Susan. So that's a bit about me. Rania has joined us recently. She is from Laurier's Masters of Social Work program. And so we're so lucky that, well, that we got a Master of Social Work student doing placement at Passages, and then extra lucky that Rania was the person placed with us, because she's just helped round out the center so much. I think all the learners can attest to that. So I'll let Rania introduce herself.
Thank you, Christina. That's such a sweet introduction. So hi, everyone. My name's Rania Ibrahim, and my pronouns are she, her. And I just wanted to echo Christina's words and just thank you all for being here tonight. We really do appreciate your support. And like she said, I am a Master of Social Work student. I'm completing my first, my foundational placement with Passages, and I'm very honored to be their very first Masters of Social Work student. And something that's been kind of central to my work at Passages is facilitating a program that we've called Tea Time with Rania. And so it's a lovely program. It's kind of like a group, session, a weekly group session where any learners who are interested in getting together and talking about literally anything and everything, anything that's on their minds, if there's something new that they'd like to share that's happened in their lives, something good, something bad, something challenging, it's an opportunity for them to ask questions that, maybe they've been wondering about or have been maybe a little bit nervous to, to speak to friends about, or to a parent or to any other adult in their life. It's just an opportunity to have a really honest conversation with each other. And it's been such a privilege to be in that space with them, and it's such a privilege to be hearing the stories that have been shared. We talk about really, deep stuff, and I think it's fantastic that they're able to do that in a space like this, because Passages kind of welcomes that and cultivates that sort of environment where the youth feel comfortable to talk about things like that. So it's been really wonderful being part of Passages so far, and it's been such a great experience. So yeah. A little bit about what I will be doing tonight is I will be moderating the chat. So I'll be kind of keeping track of any questions that you have tonight, and I'll be repeating them when we do the Q&A session towards the end. And if you have any smaller kind of questions, if you're looking for a link to our website or looking for a link to something related to self-directed learning or Passages, I'll quickly put that in the chat for you. And yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you. Okay, so we will get started. First, I just want to take a second to just remind people what self-directed learning is. Maybe you're new to it, but the learners here tonight are people who have left the traditional education system for whatever reason, and they're now choosing how they want to learn, what they want to learn, and at what pace. There's no tests, there's no grades, there's no curriculum requirements, anything like that. Basically, they're creating their education in a natural, holistic way, and addressing topics and information at an entry point that works for them, where they're at that day, that time in their life. So we emphasize a space of curiosity and open-mindedness, and with that comes just a willingness to learn a lot of stuff. So with that in mind, I'm going to pass it over to the learners. And the first question, they've all been kind of given the questions beforehand to think about, and so nothing's kind of blindsiding them. But the first question is, what has been your educational history or your journey before you came to Passages? Do you want me to call on you who speaks first? Or does someone want to speak first? Nikki? Yeah.
Oh, or Claire, do you want to go first?
I was just gonna say I don't mind either way, so it's up to you.
Okay, you go first.
I go first? Okay. I don't mind. Okay. Should I start now?
Yeah. Yeah. So how about moving forward, I could call on people just so it's a smoother.
That might work a bit
fair for everyone? Okay.
All right. Hello. My name is Claire. My pronouns are she, they. I've been at Passages for almost since the beginning, like October 2020. I have been in the traditional school system, or I guess just TDSB before. I was in kindergarten and grade 1 in a public school, and then I was homeschooled until grade 6. Oh, sorry, until grade 5, where then I went back to a public school for 2 weeks, hated it, and quit. And so then I went back to homeschooling, and then towards the end of grade 6, I joined an alternative school, went there for a few years, and then in end of grade 9, beginning of grade 10, I attempted to go back to public high school, and I did that, and I did not like it. It was boring. I slept most of the time. Not a fan. And then I came to Passages, and that's worked a lot better for me. Yeah.
Thanks, Claire. Nikki, Do you want to share your
Yeah.
journey in Passages?
Yeah, I'll go through mine.
Thanks.
So I started in Passages a little sooner, or I guess not that long ago. I'd say I've been there for a couple months now. So before that, I was going to school like almost my whole life. So from kindergarten to grade 11, I'd say, because 11 was the last full year I completed. I did 11 online due to COVID, and I actually liked it a lot more than I liked in-person school. So I was a lot more relaxed, a lot more comfortable in my own home. But then I tried to go back into high school in grade 12, and it was terrible. I really couldn't make myself go to an entire week of school. So I'd like have to take a day off in between, or I'd have to stay home just because I found it very exhausting. It was really draining trying to keep up socially and academically. And a lot of the teachers weren't really understanding of that. And I felt kind of almost neglected by peers and by people who should be helping me out with my education. So much before that, though, in about grade 5 or 6, I started getting the feeling that I wasn't really learning as much. And I was attending school purely for social reasons, just to be making friends or like hanging out. And I wasn't as serious about my academics. I just wasn't confident in myself. And that just went on for a long time until eventually I was so drained out from school that I was bedridden for quite a few months and I was very depressed and it was not a good time. But I found Passages and that was a very good time for me. I felt like I fit in like immediately. I made really good friends right away. There was this huge pressure that was just off of me, like this constant nagging feeling that there was something I wasn't completing or some assignment I was forgetting to do. I was finally able to distance myself from that and like really relax. It felt like a breath of fresh air. It was really nice. That's all.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nikki. Yes, you're very different from when you arrived to now. You can see a difference. And
Yeah, my
Naomi, yeah, Naomi, your turn. What brought you to Passages? What's your educational journey or history?
Well, at first I was just going to regular school in the TDSB, and I went to a regular public school until the end of grade 5. I didn't actually finish grade 5 because that's when COVID hit for me, and after that, I didn't go back to the same public school. I went to Karen Kane School of the Arts, and I went there for half of grade 6. And then after the winter break, I decided it just wasn't working for me, so I did homeschool for the rest of that year, and that seemed to be working out fine, and I was enjoying that. And then after that, I decided to go back to Karen Kane for grade 7. And I thought it would be better that year. Before, I was just hoping COVID would end by then. And, well, that did not happen. I tried, and it just wasn't fun for me still. School just wasn't fun for me. The teacher was always yelling, and I just wasn't learning anything. I wasn't having fun. And I didn't really want to go back to homeschooling. I don't know. So I just tried to be an optimist about it, like more positive. Bottom line, I'm not an optimist. I'm a realist. And the reality is I hate school. So after a while, I just said, no more. No more school. I just didn't like it. I wasn't learning. I wasn't having fun. And I just didn't like anything I was doing there. So I said I didn't go anymore. And my parents agreed. And then 2 days later, we found Passages, which was very.
But, anyways, I will thank you so much to the three of you. We'll go on to the next question. And so that is, how has Passages affected your life? Do you want to start, Claire?
Sure. So passages passages has changed my life in quite a few ways. At my past school and just homeschooling, I have dealt with a lot of bullying and social ostracization, which is terrible, by the way. Do not recommend. um, and passages, and specifically related. So I have a lot of mental health issues, and so passages finally kind of felt like a space where I can, be myself without being worried that someone will judge me. Because honestly, half of us at passages have mental health issues and understand the struggle that we all face. So we're all very understanding and caring of each other because we're like, you have anxiety, this is why you're reacting this way to that, or you're autistic, this is why you're reacting this way to that, and it makes sense. Um, and I never really felt like I fit in other places, and passages really feels like a comfortable spot for pretty much anybody, as long as you're not like a terrible person. um we honestly, everyone's so friendly and we're all so welcoming, and it's so lovely to be in an environment like that. And I don't know, every time I go there I'm just like, this is the place I want to, like, this is where I want to spend my days. It just makes me really happy. Yeah, I don't know, gives me, I don't know, friends. It's a place to do work. um it's a place to hang out. Like, there's so many different things you can do. Like, it really, really varies depending on what you feel like that day. So there's no set thing that you have to do, which I really, really appreciate because I'm not good at those things. Yeah.
Thank you, Claire. How about Naomi? Do you want to speak next? How
Okay.
has passages affected your life?
Passages definitely made my life better because now when I come to passages, I look forward to the next day instead of just looking forward to Friday when the week is over. I look forward to every day now because I can enjoy myself and learn things every day. And most importantly, I'm no longer bored out of my mind because I can actually do things that I can enjoy. Like, the first few days I was at Passages, I actually taught myself to sew, which is much faster than I ever seemed to learn the multiplication tables at school. Coincidence? And I can do things that I'm interested in at Passages. So I can sew, and at Passages I can write or I can draw, and I can read. And I love reading. Some days I just read all day, and that's fine. Because believe it or not, I learn more from books than I do from sitting in a classroom just listening to a teacher talk about things that I don't care about and yell at people who are talking. Crazy, right?
You're awesome, Naomi. Thank you. I swear I did not pay them to to say all that great stuff. And Nikki, how about you?
Hi. I went into this a little bit before, but I really was not happy in school. And so when I found passages, it was like this flick, like it was me gradually coming back into myself. And there was a point where just a couple days after I'd been going to passages, my grandmother, who I live with, had come up to me and with tears in her eyes had told me that she was so happy to see me being myself again, and that she was very happy to see that I was happier as a person, and that I was more outgoing. I was a little bit more excited about things. I wanted to talk about my day, when normally when I got home from high school, I would just be straight into my room and like hiding away from everything because I was exhausted. But now I come home and I want to talk about my day. I want to show off things that I've done. I want to show off my artwork or music or anything that I've been doing. And it's really just a relief, I think, for me.
Amazing. Thank you. And you can tell from your energy You're in a good space. The last question before we take any questions from the crowd is if each of you can tell us, kind of paint us a picture what a day in the center looks like for you, or a week, or however you measure your time in the center. What does that look like? Just to give people an idea of how self-directed learners actually like navigate learning and life. Who hasn't started? Naomi, do you want to go first? No? Okay. Claire?
Sure, why not? I don't mind. So honestly, a day at the center really, really varies for me. Because some days it's like I have zero energy to do my actual work. Because it's like I'm currently taking a programming course to learn computer programming. I do a lot of writing. I'm a musician, so I play quite a few instruments and write my own songs and stuff. So some days I have absolutely no energy to actually do my work and do something that requires brain power. And the good thing about passages is that's okay too. So while you can have a day where you're super intense in your work, and you can have a day where you just like really just need to be with friends. So some days are like super chill and I'm just around people and having a good time. And then other days I'm like focused, like doing my writing, doing my music all day. Working on the things that I'm there to work on. And learning new things as well. I've been taught by other learners in the center like a few cool different things. Like I made clay things recently. I like making clay things. That's cool. But yeah, it really varies. Most of my days I do some music in the morning, say hi to some people, do a little bit of work, and then naturally we go on a walk. Sometimes to Freshco. Yeah, I don't know. I think in the summer we go to the park and I'm very excited. I don't know. The days really vary and I think that's a really excellent part about passages.
Amazing, thank you. And I think we all want the nice weather here soon to get to the park. Nikki, do you want to go next? Okay.
Yeah, sure. My day for the center is, again, it varies a lot depending on how I'm feeling. So, but I'd say usually I'll sit down and I try to get started drawing on something. So I'm very big on art and I love painting, I love drawing, I love anything to do with art. So I think I felt a lot more comfortable in that too when I came to passages. So I've picked up art even more than I was doing it before. So yeah, I'll usually draw and then lots of socializing, talk with Claire or with Naomi or with somebody else who's there. But yeah, we'll talk a lot and then have conversations about what's going on in the world, what we're interested in. It's really nice. Sometimes we have little debates and stuff. It's cool to hear other people's point of views on things, especially when it comes to things in politics that are happening right now. A lot of COVID talk, a lot of very interesting discussions. I enjoy it. I find it very enlightening, maybe, to see other people's opinions. So yeah, and then I'm always kind of sad when I have to go home, to be honest, because it feels like the day just flies by. But yeah, I think like Naomi said before, you really look forward to going the next day instead of looking forward to the weekend.
Amazing, thank you. And Naomi, are you ready? Talk about a day in the life of Naomi at Passages.
Well, usually I get there around in between 9 and 10, instead of having to wake up super early before the sun even wakes up. Because why should I have to wake up before the sun does anyway? But anyway, so I get there and I'll sit on the couch and then I'll decide what I want to do that day. And usually I don't do the same thing all day. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll be writing all day, writing fan fiction, and sometimes I'll be reading a fan fiction all day. Or I'll just do random things that I feel like doing. Like sometimes I'll start a new project, a sewing project, or I'll randomly get inspired to do an art project or draw something or paint something. And I can always take a break to just relax if I get tired of doing it or I just get bored, which doesn't happen very often. But if I do get bored of doing something, I can always move on to do something else.
I think that's the nice thing about being in a self-directed learning space is that you don't, first of all, if you get bored, it's okay. You can just sit with that and, I don't know, feel that discomfort. Or there's always someone doing something interesting that you can kind of look over and see what they're doing and maybe do it too. Or open a box, because we have so many supplies, so much supplies, open a box and try something new. So thank you, Nikki, Naomi, and Claire for all of that. That was fantastic. Are there any questions that people have that they want to have this opportunity to ask the learners? Just while the questions are coming in, if there are any, our Instagram actually has a lot of, I think each one of the learners here are showcased in some way on the Instagram. Nikki's art, Naomi's sewing and art, Claire's music, and I don't think I did your clay stuff on there, but so if you're ever interested to see like what are they getting up to, definitely check out Instagram and see. Rania, have any questions come in?
Oh, yep, there's one here. So were you all self-directed before you started at Passages? And would someone who is socially motivated find things to do? Who would like to take a stab at that question?
I can answer, at least just a little bit, from my perspective. So, I've been essentially self-directed learning my whole life because I was homeschooled from like 6 onwards. So, I know some people haven't had the same experience as me, but I know I was, and I think that like we're all kind of self-directed learning. It just depends on if we're in a traditional school system or not. And would someone who's socially motivated find things to do? I am extremely socially motivated. That is the kind of person that I am. I love being around people. I love people. I find things to do. I have a great time. Some days I just hang out with people. Other days I'm like, I'm gonna get my work done. I'm gonna pull stuff together and I'm gonna get my work done. And then there's a combination of both. So, you know, if you're socially motivated, like this is also like a really great space for you because it's a space where you can be socially motivated without getting in trouble for not focusing on something. And then you can also focus on something without getting in trouble for only focusing on that one thing. Like it really fits every kind of person and every way of learning. I think that's really cool.
Naomi or Nikki, do either of you want to take a stab?
Yeah, sure, I could talk about it.
Sure.
I was entirely schooled in TDSB and TCDSB before coming to Passages this year. And I think even then I was being a self-directed learner too, because a lot of my art skills I taught myself and a lot of my music skills I was teaching myself. But I just didn't consider it like that. I just thought it was a hobby. It wasn't seen as anything too serious in the school system. And would somebody socially motivated find things to do? I am not a very socially motivated person, to be honest. I was very, very introverted before coming here, but I feel like going to Passages now, I'm a lot more socially motivated. I want to talk to people a lot more, and I find a lot more like enjoyment in talking to people. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Naomi, do you want to answer that one?
Well, yeah, I do think that if you're socially motivated, then you can find stuff to do because there's just a lot to do with passages. They have, like, as long as you have the idea, then you can make it into reality when you have the supplies. And passages has the supplies. They have anything that you could need to make anything. You could they have a sewing machine, they have paint, and they have pencil crayons, random things, fabric. In fact, I dare you to go in there and not find something to do.
That is a good dare.
Honestly, it's true though. Like you always find something to do, and I think that's really lovely.
That's, I would say, a credit to everyone because you're so curious and willing to try things, right? I think that's the big part of being a self-directed learner is taking the risk and giving something a try that you've never done. Rania, were there other questions?
Yes, yeah, thank you for posting your questions in the chat, everyone. So we do have one from Ted. Do the learners collaborate on projects at Passages, and how do they find these experiences?
I would like to answer that one.
Go for it.
Okay, hi Ted. But yeah, just last week we did a big sort of collaborative thing where we all sat down with our like music instructor or helper and we had a big sort of jam session, and I think it was really fun. Like I went into it a little bit nervous, like, oh, should I be doing this when this happens? Like, should I be soloing or should I be doing rhythm? But it felt like we all really worked together well with it, and it was really encouraging having our teacher there to support us when we wanted to be there, of course. But yeah, there was no pressure to be there if we didn't want to be or if we were too nervous. And I think it was a really fun project to do together.
And Ted is the music teacher that comes in as a volunteer, just a local music producer that wants to work with youth and comes in and works weekly with everyone.
We all love Colin. He's cool.
Colin's awesome.
Colin's so cool.
Claire, do you want to answer that question? Do learners collaborate?
Sure. I think, we definitely do. It really depends. Sometimes collaborating isn't exactly it doesn't look like how it typically does. So sometimes it's just rather than like all of us getting together and doing one project or a couple of us doing that, it's sitting beside each other and doing similar projects and giving each other feedback and input. I know I do that a lot with Nikki. Like we'll do like clay stuff beside each other, and give feedback and talk about it if that's something that you want. But then there also is like the traditional collaboration. Well, we're kind of just like all like we're working together as a group on something. Like Nikki said, the band kind of jam session was really fun the other day, and I think it was three of us, and it was just like a nice space. I really enjoy working with the other like youth in the center because everyone's so positive and open and accepting of like mistakes. So it's like if you mess up, it's like, well, that's fine, move on. I think it depends on what you'd like. So if you want to collaborate, there are people that will. If you don't, then that's fine too.
Awesome, thank you. Naomi, what do you think about collaboration?
I mean, I haven't really done a lot at Passages. Like, I haven't done a lot of collaborations. But I think it is cool that you get to like do things with other people if you want to, and not being forced into a group to do something with people that you don't necessarily get along with, because then it just doesn't work well. But the thing about self-directed learning is it's self-directed. You don't have to if you don't want to. And if you don't want to work with someone else and they want to work with you, then you can. You can do something together and you can both share your ideas and just create something really cool, which is cool.
Awesome. Thank you. That is a good point, actually, is, there's no forced collaboration, there's no forced really anything. However, someone wants to arrive that day, and it can change daily, it can change hourly. If you decided to collaborate one day and you show up and you just don't have it in you, that's respected by everyone, and you just reschedule for another day, and when you're mentally ready and able to get into it. So thank you all for touching on that point. That's so important.
I also
Ronnie?
see, I was also just going to say, I also see collaboration in when we all do our weekly committee meeting, collaboration of ideas as well, and collaboration on how we make decisions in the space together. So it's not always just like project space, it's also just, ideas and how we want to govern, if you will, being in the space together. So yeah. The next question is from Patricia. How much support is provided for academic pursuits?
Does anyone, so in terms of, I'll just speak to that a little bit. So in terms of academic support, it's a self-directed space. So if someone wanted academic support, then they would request it. And then as a facilitator at Passages, I would reach out to the community and see if someone wanted to come volunteer and work with the youth. Some families have decided to hire tutors to work with their child at different hours. So if a family really felt like formalized math was important to them, then they have an agreement with their child that you have to do math tutoring, or you have to, do a certain amount of work. And so we support that as long as the learner comes to us and says, yeah, this is part of my goal, this is part of my agreement within my family. And so will you support me with that? Will you help me with that? But in terms of they have something due and we chase them down and make sure work is done and that they're following, timelines, none of that happens. It's all learner driven. Claire, Nikki, or Naomi, do any of you have something to add to that?
A couple weeks ago, there was something I wanted to do in resume writing, which was very fun for me, honestly, because I had learned it in school, but it was just such a bore at the time that I wasn't paying attention really at all. But then we had somebody come into the center and help me out with it, and I actually have a job now because of that. And I'm very happy with myself. Yeah.
Amazing. So great. Okay, next question.
All right. Next question is from Ivan. So Ivan says, it's wonderful to hear how much you love Passages, and it appears to be the perfect space, which warms my heart. But if there were one thing that you would improve or something that you are wanting, what would it be?
Yeah, Naomi?
I would just want a bigger space, probably. So we could have more room to do stuff and just have more fun stuff.
I agree with that.
I agree.
Maybe
I agree with that a little bit. Although the space we're in now is pretty comfy.
It's lovely, but it's getting a bit small the more people we add on.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. It just is what it is.
Yeah, it's a nice problem to have at this point as we grow. It's fantastic. The nice thing about the center is that if there are things, sorry, Nikki, were you going to say something?
Oh, no, it's okay. You can go first.
Okay. The nice thing is that if there is something that a learner wanted in the space, we bring it to the community meeting. And then as a group, we talk about how to bring this in, how to make this happen. Even if it's something complicated, we as a group figure out, okay, let's make this happen. And what are some creative ways to do that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like in the space, it's hard to find things right now that we want to improve on because they're addressed so often. So if there is ever a problem amongst us when we have our community meeting, like have it be somebody's behavior or maybe the way a certain rule is that doesn't feel like it works well, we can all sit down, we can talk on it, and we can see like what we agree on, what we don't agree on. And yeah, I feel like that goes into the next question too. So I'm not gonna talk about it too much, but yeah, the meetings help out a lot with anything we want to improve. So yeah.
Did anyone else want to add on to that question, or are we okay to move on?
I don't really see much. I like fully agree with Nikki. Honestly, if anyone has any problems, like or like concerns or questions, you know, we bring them to the meeting and it's addressed or talked about. I do wish we had a bigger space though. I wish, okay. I wish we had more guitars. That's it. But that's just a me thing. So it's not like that's just a me thing.
It's a guitar museum for you.
Oh yeah, no, all of them. I want like a $15,000 guitar in there, please.
I want a Gibson.
We could try to make that happen at the community meeting.
Thank you. Oh my god, I feel so special.
Was there another question? Oh,
Yes, yeah, it's the last one in here. Oh, yep, we have more coming in. So Susan wants to know, from the learner's perspective, how do the democratic meetings work? So how do the community meetings work?
I can talk about this one, or does somebody else want to go first?
yeah, anytime. Yeah.
Okay. I'm still a little new, so I've only been to a couple community meetings, but we do have them once a week where we all sit down in a circle and we have somebody who chairs the meeting for us and kind of brings up issues down the list that we have to talk about that week. And sometimes it's not always issues. We can talk about just things we might want to plan, opportunities we could bring into the center. So like art projects we might want to work on, trips we could plan. But we usually have a list of things that build up between the times we don't have meetings that we'll then go over.
Yeah, like so usually we have an ongoing list and it's on one of the doors that anyone's able to add to if they want to bring something up and bring it to the meeting. And you know, it's kind of just a space where there's a chair and they kind of moderate so that we keep on topic and we discuss what needs to be discussed. And so we do like obviously like raising our hands, you know, to talk, or if we need that. Sometimes we don't need that. And if it's really necessary, we use the talking dice or we chuck this piece of dice, this little, it's like a foam thing. So don't worry. But yeah, they run so smoothly.
And
yeah.
their youth run.
Their youth run. Yeah. So the chair is always like a youth. It alternates between us, and you can sign up or you don't have to sign up. It's like, I love being the chair. Some people don't have to be the chair. I don't know. It's nice because you can bring up your questions and concerns. Or just, you know, we check in at the end. They're like, "How was your week?" You're like, "I'm good," or anything. And I don't know. It's nice. It's yeah. I don't know.
Thank you. Naomi, did you want to add to that at all?
No.
Okay. I'll just add like, so it's the choice to come to the meeting or not. Not everybody in a space wants to be a part of like the governing body of spaces and centers. So sometimes there's people at the center that day where the meeting's happening and they don't want to be a part of it. And that's respected, and they can sit off to the side. They might migrate in if they hear something that's meaningful to them, and they're welcome to do that. So there's not like a hard and fast rule of like, if you're at the center, you have to be in this meeting. it's still open. But decisions that are made in the meeting, you have to live with if you haven't come. And then if you don't like that decision, you have to come to, like, we recommend you come to the next meeting to bring forward your perspective, to shift it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and the last one from Branka is, can you talk about how you give back to the community?
Like the general world community or the environment that we're in?
I'm not sure, Branka, if you want to clarify.
I'm not. Okay. um
So I can speak a little bit to that. So I would say that our ultimate goal is to be more community oriented, and we've talked often, or dreamed, I should say, outside of a COVID world, we would love to host like youth open mic nights, busking outside the center, art shows, just things that bring the surrounding community, all of you who are here, just to us or us to them, fires, things like that. So sometimes at the art table, as we're all working, we do dream of, all the great things we're going to do once all the restrictions start lifting and everyone's starting to feel safe again. So we haven't quite done that yet, but there's a growing list. So, okay, welcome. All right, so I think that brings us to the end of the evening, or something, Nikki?
Oh, I was gonna say something about that. I thought Claire was gonna speak first. But yeah, about the community thing, I feel like COVID is a big restriction on that. So there are like certain activities, even for just like the outside community. So like not us as a group, but just the world in general. Like there are a few outings we could go on and things like that we could do, but that COVID are kind of keeping us from. I feel like the center is a really environmentally aware place, and when it comes to like the good of the community, we don't ever like litter, or we're not very, I don't know what the word would say, maybe we're very sustainable.
Eco-friendly?
Yes, eco-friendly, that's what I'm looking for. So that's what kind of comes into my head with the word environment. So yeah, we don't use a lot of like paper waste. We recycle a lot of paper. We recycle just in general, but we don't have any like plastic cups or like things. We use our own dishes and we can wash them, and I feel like that's very good for the environment. Took that a little literally, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, so that pretty much brings us to the end of the evening. Thank you, everybody, for your questions, but also so thankful to the three learners that came tonight and shared so openly and warmly. A little round of applause for all of you. Thank you. If you would like to leave, you're welcome to leave, but I'm going to stay around a little bit longer for anyone that wanted to have any questions answered or have any questions specific to your family. So I'll stay for about 15 more minutes, and you're welcome to stay or leave, but thank you everybody for coming. We'll have the recording available in a couple days.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
I
you.
also wanted to remind everyone that there's an info session coming up on March 10th.
Thursday.
I don't know, Christine, if you wanted to go into more detail about that.
Yeah, so that's just on the website on the banner. I do a once a month information session for anyone that wants more information about general passages, self-directed learning, and answering your family questions. So that's, I think, 7:30 on Thursday. The Zoom link is on the website. So fantastic. Thank you.
Well done, everybody. Good night.
Bye, Ted. Thank you. Nikki, Claire, Naomi, you're welcome to stay or leave, up to you. No pressure either way.
Christina, do you need me for this as well?
No, I don't think so. Thank you, Rania.
Okay.
Thanks for
I
your
will
work
be
on
getting
this.
out.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
So proud of you three. We'll see you tomorrow.
Patricia, yeah, definitely.